History has long told us that ancient people knew only stone, wood, and bronze. Yet across the world, there are structures that still challenge engineers to this day. Stone pillars weighing dozens of tons. Walls fitted together so precisely that they require no mortar. There are even mechanical devices capable of predicting the movements of the sun and the moon from more than 2,000 years ago. Each discovery suggests that our ancestors may have advanced far beyond what we have ever imagined. So which achievements could force us to rethink everything we believe we know about ancient technology? The stone road climbing into the Andes gives almost no warning of what lies ahead. Then, around a bend, the massive walls of the Inca emerge from the mountain clouds. Each stone block weighs dozens, even hundreds of tons. No mortar, no nails, no steel. After enduring countless earthquakes over hundreds of years, they are still standing, silent and unwavering. That is why these structures have never stopped drawing archaeologists and modern engineers back in search of answers. What is surprising is that the Inca did not try to shape their stones into perfect squares. Instead, they preserved nearly the natural form of each block. Then every surface was carefully carved and polished until it fit tightly against the neighboring stone. Some surfaces are curved, others are made of multiple angled faces. Every block is like a puzzle piece made for one place and one place only. The joints are so narrow that even today, a thin knife blade can barely slip between them. Some researchers believe the Inca may have used colored pigments or mud to mark the contact points between two stone blocks. They would then coat one surface with a layer of red clay mixed with sparkling mineral grains. When the two stones were pressed together, the clay left marks wherever the surface still protruded. The stonemason only needed to grind down those exact spots before testing the fit again. This process was repeated over and over, countless times, until the two surfaces matched with almost perfect precision. Some studies also suggest they may have used clay models or very simple shape copying tools to check the fit before grinding. Although the details remain debated, reconstruction experiments have reached the same conclusion. With stone tools, sand, and a great deal of time, this technique was entirely achievable. The greatest secret, however, is not the precision of the joints. It is the way these walls survived earthquakes. The stone blocks were not locked rigidly together like modern concrete. They could shift ever so slightly when the ground shook, then settle back into their original positions. Their many angled, gently curved contact surfaces held them together. The walls were also built with a slight inward lean. Their foundations followed the natural slope of the mountains instead of forcing the terrain flat. This is not the story of a civilization possessing lost technology or mysterious powers. It is the story of craftsmen who understood every grain of stone, every mountainside, and who were patient enough to turn what seemed impossible into reality. Physicist Helmut Trebuch and architect Santiago Agurto have both argued that the greatest achievement of Inca engineering was not the enormous stones themselves, but the way the entire structure was designed to move with the earth instead of resisting it. And this is only one chapter in the history of ancient technology. Leaving the Andes behind for the banks of the Nile, the world encounters another extraordinary achievement. This time built from more than 2 million stone blocks in the deserts of Egypt. Before the Inca stood the mountains. Before the Egyptians stretched the desert. Two different landscapes and two different ways of mastering nature. But if the Inca amazed the world with walls built without mortar, the Egyptians chose instead to raise an entire artificial mountain from the golden sands. It was the Great Pyramid of Giza. More than 4,000 years have passed. Yet it still stands, as though time itself has never touched it. The monument was built from approximately 2.3 million stone blocks. Most are limestone, weighing about 2.5 tons each. The granite slabs inside the king's chamber alone can weigh as much as 80 tons. More remarkable still, they were not quarried at Giza. They came from Aswan, more than 800 kilometers away. Every block had to travel down the Nile before crossing the desert to reach its final position. Simply transporting those stones to the construction site was an extraordinary achievement. For many years, some believed the Egyptians possessed a lost technology. But the traces left behind in the ancient quarries tell a very different story. The workers used dolerite hammerstones to break the granite. They then ground each surface with quartz sand. The work progressed slowly, yet with each passing day, every stone became a little flatter. Thousands of days like that gradually produced blocks of almost perfect precision. But what causes modern engineers to pause the longest is not the stones themselves. Each side of the base measures more than 230 meters. The margin of error is only a few centimeters. All four sides are aligned almost perfectly with true north. The Egyptians had no lasers, no surveying instruments, no satellites. They had only measuring cords, wooden stakes, and the night sky. The stars became their map. The sun became their clock. From these simple tools, they created a monument that continues to earn the admiration of surveyors even today. Step inside, and the surprises become even greater. The Grand Gallery rises overhead with its tightly stacked courses of stone. Above the chamber, multiple layers of stone were carefully arranged to bear the immense weight of the pyramid. Every detail serving a purpose. Even the narrow shafts leading toward the sky were positioned to align with the stars as they appeared more than 4,000 years ago. For the Egyptians, architecture and astronomy were never separate. The greatest question remains: how did they raise millions of stone blocks to such heights? Ancient illustrations that have survived show stones placed on wooden sledges. The sand in front was wetted, a method that sounds almost too simple. Modern experiments have shown that it truly works. Water reduces friction. A team of just a few dozen people could pull a stone block weighing several tons. As the monument grew taller, earthen ramps were expanded level by level. No machines were required, only human strength, levers, and a plan calculated down to every step. Even today, the story is not over. Laser scanning, three-dimensional imaging, and muon tomography have allowed scientists to look inside the Great Pyramid without removing a single stone. They have discovered previously unknown voids hidden within the structure. That means that after more than 4 millennia, the monument still keeps some of its own secrets. Both Mark Lehner and Zahi Hawass have argued that the most astonishing aspect of the Great Pyramid is not its immense size. It is the people behind it, not slaves, but skilled craftsmen, surveyors, and builders who understood stone, understood the Nile, and understood the sky. They left behind no blueprints. They left behind the monument itself. And that alone is enough to make the Great Pyramid one of the greatest testaments to the ingenuity of the ancient human mind. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, stone was scarce. What existed everywhere was clay, mud, and natural bitumen. From these seemingly ordinary materials, one of humanity's earliest civilizations created structures and innovations that were far ahead of their time. From a distance, the ziggurats of Babylon rise like stepped mountains across the plain. They were not built from massive stone blocks like those at Giza. Instead, the people of Mesopotamia dried clay in the sun to form the core of each structure. On the outside, they used harder-fired bricks to protect the entire framework. Between the layers of brick, they applied bitumen, a naturally occurring black asphalt found within the region itself. More than 4,000 years ago, they already understood that this material could keep water from penetrating walls. When the flood season arrived, the waters rose and then receded, yet the temples remained standing. Modern analyses show that ancient bitumen possessed exceptional waterproofing properties. That was not a matter of luck, it was the result of generations of observation and experimentation. Beneath the foundations lay an entire water management system, carefully planned. Rainwater and floodwater were carried away before they could soften the base of the structures. The people of Mesopotamia understood that to build upward, the ground beneath had to remain stable first. It is a principle that is familiar to modern engineers, yet they were applying it thousands of years ago. Archaeologists also uncovered an object far smaller than any temple. It was not found atop a ziggurat, but within the ruins of an ancient palace at Nimrud. It was a piece of transparent quartz, polished with remarkable precision. When held before the eye, it can produce a slight magnifying effect, although its optical quality is not sufficient to confirm that it was intentionally crafted as a specialized lens. Even today, no one can say with certainty what it was used for. Perhaps it helped carve extremely fine details, perhaps it was used to observe the heavens, or perhaps it was simply a precious object. Whatever the answer may be, the ability to shape a block of quartz into such a precise form nearly 3,000 years ago is enough to show that their craftsmanship was far more advanced than many people once believed. The most controversial artifact, however, is nothing more than a small ceramic jar. Inside are a copper cylinder and an iron rod. At first glance, it appears completely ordinary. That changed when researchers poured vinegar or fermented grape juice into it. When reconstructed with an electrolyte such as vinegar, the artifact is capable of producing a small electrical voltage. However, to this day, there is no evidence that the ancient people used it as a battery or for electroplating. Perhaps that is the most fascinating thing about this civilization. They did not leave behind the tallest structures in the world. They did not create stone blocks weighing dozens of tons. Instead, they observed everything around them with extraordinary care. Clay could become brick, bitumen could keep water out, quartz could bend light. Copper, iron, and liquid could produce an entirely new phenomenon. Every discovery began with materials that were already familiar. Yet when they were combined in the right way, the results reached far beyond what many later generations could have imagined. That is why many archaeologists describe Mesopotamia as the place where humanity first began to think like engineers. No complex tools were required. No rare materials were necessary. Only a deep understanding of what lay beneath their very feet. From the land between the two rivers, the flow of knowledge continued westward toward the Mediterranean. Here, the Greeks, the Romans, and later the Byzantine Empire did not pursue the tallest monuments or the heaviest stones. They pursued something different. They sought to understand materials, master motion, and discover ways to make nature serve humanity. What they left behind was more than temples and statues. They left techniques that, even after 2,000 years, modern laboratories are still trying to fully understand. In the heart of Rome, the Pantheon still stands quietly beneath the sun, just as it did on the day its great dome was completed. Nearly 2,000 years have passed. Wars, earthquakes, and countless storms have come and gone. Yet that mass of concrete has never collapsed. Few people realize that Roman concrete was nothing like the kind we use today. The Romans mixed quicklime with volcanic ash from the region of Pozzuoli, then added stone and seawater. The mixture hardened very slowly, growing stronger with time. Harbors submerged beneath the sea for thousands of years have retained their structure. Aqueducts still span valleys. Many sections of ancient walls remain standing even though the empire itself disappeared long ago. For many years, scientists believed the secret lay solely in the volcanic ash. But when they examined samples of ancient concrete under a microscope, they discovered countless tiny lime clasts scattered throughout the material. At first, these were thought to be nothing more than imperfections from the mixing process. Then, in 2023, researchers from MIT and Italy demonstrated the opposite. These lime clasts had been created intentionally by mixing lime at extremely high temperatures. When water seeped into a small crack, the lime dissolved and recrystallized into new calcium carbonate. Within just a few weeks, the crack could almost completely seal itself. In other words, many Roman structures possessed the ability to repair themselves more than 2,000 years ago. Today, engineers are still studying this formula in hopes of creating concrete that is both more durable and produces fewer carbon emissions. If Roman concrete astonishes engineers, then a small artifact recovered from the seafloor forced historians to rewrite the history of technology. In 1901, sponge divers discovered a corroded bronze object covered in coral within the wreck of a ship near the island of Antikythera. At first, no one believed it was anything remarkable. Only after X-ray imaging did dozens of bronze gears emerge from within. After years of research, scientists determined that the device contains approximately 30 to 37 surviving gears, though its original design may have included even more. Every rotation was carefully calculated. By simply turning a hand crank, the entire mechanism could simulate the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets known to the Greeks. It could also predict solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and the Saros cycle, which spans more than 18 years. Even more astonishing is that this machine was built around the 2nd century BC. That was long before Europe's first mechanical clocks appeared. In 2021, a research team from University College London used CT scan and X-ray data to reconstruct the mechanism's complete internal design. The results showed that the reconstruction matched the surviving fragments with remarkable accuracy. Tony Freeth has called it the first mechanical computer in history. Not because it used electricity, but because it performed calculations through gears. Centuries later, as the Byzantine Empire became the Mediterranean's last great shield, another remarkable technology appeared upon the sea. It became known as Greek fire. During naval battles, Byzantine sailors extended large bronze tubes from the bows of their ships. From within them, a stream of burning liquid was projected directly at the enemy. The most terrifying feature was that the flames did not go out when they touched the water. They continued burning across the surface of the sea, clinging to enemy ships and spreading with terrifying speed. The exact composition of this mixture remains unknown. Many theories suggest it contained naphtha, sulfur, and quicklime. But the true formula disappeared along with the last Byzantine keepers of its secret. For centuries, the mere appearance of ships carrying Greek fire was enough to make opposing fleets change course. When these three civilizations are viewed together, it becomes clear that they were not pursuing the same goal. The Greeks were fascinated by the movements of the heavens. The Romans sought to create structures capable of enduring for thousands of years. The Byzantines transformed chemistry into a weapon that could determine the fate of an empire. Each civilization chose a different path, yet all of them rested upon the same foundation. Observing nature with extraordinary care, experimenting without end, and remaining patient until they found the answer. That is why many historians regard the Mediterranean as the place where ancient technology reached a major turning point. Structures became more than simply more complex. Humanity began to understand that knowledge itself could be preserved within materials, within gears, and within the formulas of chemistry. Thousands of years before Columbus set foot on this continent, it was already home to stone cities, vast plazas, and pyramids rising above the jungle canopy. None of it was built by a single empire, but by a succession of civilizations. Among them, the Olmec and the Maya left behind achievements that continue to astonish archaeologists today. One of the most unforgettable sights is the colossal Olmec stone heads. Each sculpture was carved from a single block of basalt, some weigh as much as 50 tons. Yet the quarries lay dozens of kilometers from where the monuments now stand. Between those 2 points stretched rivers, swamps, and dense forests. There were no wheels, no horses, no oxen to pull the loads. Archaeologists believe they combined wooden rafts, rollers, ropes, and human labor. Simply transporting one of these blocks across such a distance would have taken many months, forcing the work to begin all over again. Centuries later, the Maya continued their story through structures that were even more extraordinary. At the heart of Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Kukulkan still rises as though time itself has never touched it. From a distance, it appears to be nothing more than a step-stone pyramid. But when someone stands at its base and claps, the entire pyramid seems to answer. The echo returns as a series of short, sharp pulses. It sounds remarkably like the call of the Quetzal, the sacred bird of the Maya. Multiple research teams have brought acoustic instruments to study the phenomenon, and the results have been remarkably consistent. It is the geometry of the stone steps themselves that creates the effect. No metal, no machinery, only stone, geometry, and extraordinary precision. Not far away, the Great Ball Court preserves another remarkable mystery. Two people standing at opposite ends of the court, more than 100 meters apart, can still hear each other clearly. The long stone walls carry sound across the entire plaza. Today, engineers continue to model this phenomenon using computer simulations to better understand the way sound waves are reflected. The Maya accomplished it thousands of years ago. through nothing more than knowledge accumulated over generations. Yet what truly set them apart was the sky above them. As night fell, Maya skywatchers began the work they knew so well. Night after night, year after year, century after century, they recorded the positions of the sun, the moon, and above all, Venus. In the Dresden Codex, which survives to this day, the cycle of Venus was calculated with astonishing agreement to the value measured by modern astronomy. It is a level of precision achieved with nothing more than the naked eye and extraordinary patience. These numbers did not remain on paper, they were carved directly into stone. Many temples were aligned precisely with the sunrise on the summer or winter solstice. Others were oriented toward the moment when the sun passed directly overhead. Research published in 2023 suggests that this tradition began more than 3,000 years ago. That means the foundations of their astronomical knowledge had already been established long before the great Maya cities entered their golden age. They also created multiple calendar systems that operated simultaneously. One calendar governed everyday life, another guided religious ceremonies. Yet another tracked cycles spanning thousands of years. When researchers entered all of this information into computer models, they realized that the Maya had developed an extraordinarily stable system for measuring time. It was unlike that of any other civilization. From the colossal stone heads of the Olmec to the pyramids and observatories of the Maya, every surviving trace tells the same story. These were not isolated communities hidden deep within the jungle. They were people who knew how to measure, how to calculate, and how to make nature itself part of their architecture. For centuries, the rainforest concealed it all. But when the last layers of earth were finally cleared away, what emerged was more than ancient cities. It was evidence that the New World had once nurtured a scientific tradition that evolved along a path entirely its own. When people think of ancient technology, many imagine machines filled with gears or towering pyramids. But in China, one of the most astonishing inventions began with nothing more than a bronze vessel. In AD 132, Zhang Heng presented the Han imperial court with a device unlike anything the world had ever seen. Its body was a bronze vessel. Around its sides were 8 dragons, each held a bronze ball in its mouth. Beneath them sat 8 frogs with their mouths open, waiting below. No one understood why such an object was called an instrument of observation. Then one day, without warning, one of the bronze balls fell. The sound of metal echoed through the great hall. The ground remained perfectly still. No one felt the slightest vibration. Many believed the device had malfunctioned. But several days later, a report arrived from a region hundreds of kilometers away, confirming that a major earthquake had struck precisely in the direction indicated by the fallen ball. If the surviving historical records are accurate, this may have been the first device in history capable of detecting an earthquake that the people standing beside it could not feel at all. The original vessel disappeared long ago. For centuries, no one knew how its mechanism worked. That changed when modern engineers began reconstructing its components one by one. They built multiple versions of the device. Each relied on pendulums, levers, and gravity. Every reconstruction pointed toward the same conclusion. Using nothing more than simple mechanical principles, many reconstructed models demonstrate that the instrument could have operated in this way. Only bronze, gravity, and a profound understanding of how objects move. Yet ancient China did not stop there. more than 1,000 years before Zhangheng's seismoscope appeared, in what is now Sichuan province. The craftsmen of Sanxing Dui accomplished something equally extraordinary. They poured molten bronze into enormous casting molds to create mysterious faces with protruding eyes, oversized ears, and features so sharp they appear as though they were finished only yesterday. Some statues stand nearly 3 meters tall. Some masks stretch more than a meter across. Every artifact represented a challenge for any foundry of the ancient world. Molten bronze allows no room for error. If the temperature is too low, the metal solidifies before the mold is filled. Too high, and the alloy is ruined. Even the slightest deviation can crack the casting or leave it badly deformed. Yet the surviving artifacts show that the craftsmen controlled nearly every stage of the process. Modern analyses have also revealed that Sanxing Dui bronze contains a relatively high percentage of tin. This composition made the bronze harder while preserving remarkably fine details. That means these craftsmen did more than simply melt metal. They understood how to blend materials in exactly the right proportions to achieve the results they wanted. Behind every bronze mask stood far more than a single artisan. It was an entire system. Some people mined the ore, others smelted the bronze, others crafted the molds, others operated the furnaces. Every step had to happen at precisely the right moment. A delay at any point could cause the entire casting to fail. What is remarkable is that Zhangheng's seismoscope and the bronze masks of Sanxing Dui share something fundamental in common. Neither was created merely to display power. Both were born from years of careful observation, relentless patience, and deep understanding. One sought to listen to the movements of the earth. The other learned to command rivers of molten metal. These were not miracles left behind by the past. They were the result of centuries of accumulated experience, of testing, refining, failing, and trying again. And the more closely we examine them, the more we realize that the history of human technology was not written only with the iron and steel of the modern age. It began long before that, beside blazing furnaces, and next to a quiet bronze vessel waiting for the earth itself to speak. If China astonished humanity through mechanics and metallurgy, then south of the Himalayas, another civilization chose an entirely different path. They did not build machines to observe nature. They transformed an entire city into a giant machine, where every street, every brick, and every flow of water operated with astonishing precision. When archaeologists peeled back the first layers of earth at Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, what emerged was not a palace or a royal tomb. Before them stretched perfectly straight streets. Houses stood in orderly rows. Everything was so organized that it looked like a city planned only yesterday. The bricks were almost identical in size. Even when discovered hundreds of kilometers apart, they maintained the same proportions. That reveals one simple truth: people living in different cities were following the same standard. Yet what astonished archaeologists most was what lay beneath the ground. Nearly every house had its own private bathroom. Wastewater did not flow into the streets. Instead, it traveled through brick-built drains before joining the city's main sewer system. Many sections even included covered channels and inspection pits for clearing away sediment. Modern engineers have surveyed the entire network. They discovered that the slope of the drainage system had been calculated with remarkable precision. Water could flow naturally from one end to the other without any mechanical assistance. A principle that is entirely familiar in modern urban engineering had already appeared here more than 4,000 years ago. At the center of Mohenjo-Daro stands the Great Bath, a large pool constructed from fired bricks. Between the layers of brick, natural bitumen formed a waterproof seal. The pool was built with stairways descending into the water. It had its own water supply and its own drainage system. Every detail reveals that its builders understood exactly where water would flow and how it could be contained. Farther west lies Dolavira. Rainfall there was scarce. But instead of waiting for nature to provide, its people captured every precious drop. They dug reservoirs. They built dams. They directed water through canals that spread across the city. Every brief rainy season was carefully collected to sustain the region for many months afterward. This was more than engineering. It was humanity learning how to live alongside nature. Centuries later, another remarkable achievement appeared. In the heart of Delhi stands an iron pillar more than 7 meters tall. It has remained there for over 1,600 years. Strangely, its surface has barely rusted. Rain still falls, sunlight still shines. The air oxidizes iron just as it does everywhere else. Yet the pillar remains almost unchanged. Scientists have studied it for decades. They discovered that Gupta metallurgists produced an iron containing a relatively high concentration of phosphorus. Over time, an extremely thin protective layer formed across its surface. That invisible film prevented corrosion from penetrating deeper into the metal. The ancient craftsmen knew nothing of stainless steel. The ancient craftsmen knew nothing of stainless steel. They had no laboratories. They possessed only experience, blazing forges, and centuries of trial and refinement. Yet that alone produced a monument that still compels metallurgists to study it with great care today. Looking back, the technology of ancient India did not reside in a single extraordinary machine. It was woven into the very way people built their civilization. A brick made to the correct dimensions, a road placed in exactly the right location, a drain constructed with precisely the proper slope, a reservoir preserving every drop of rain, and an iron pillar still standing in quiet strength after more than 16 centuries. That is why these achievements made no great noise. They simply continued doing their job, generation after generation. Perhaps that is the clearest sign of a technology that had truly reached maturity. Thank you for staying with WUFO Space until the very end of this journey through the vast universe. If you found this video interesting and insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to WUFO Space so you won't miss our next cosmic adventures. Your support means the world to us and fuels our passion to keep exploring the wonders beyond.